Hello, everybody. Thank you for bearing with me. I'll be teaching on the sociological imagination. So the learning objective for today is that by the end of this lecture, you will be able to explain what the sociological imagination is and apply it to the social issues that you value the most. In 3 words, you will learn awareness, connection, and empathy. The overall agenda for the day is just to introduce what is a social issue and a public issue to you, and then we'll be going into the sociological perspective and relation to the sociological imagination. So this first imagination activity has 2 parts. The first being to answer the first question, what is the one thing, it can be an issue or literally anything, that is most important to you? In 1 sentence, be as specific as possible. If you can't, yeah.
One thing that's important to me is the lack of support that former convicts receive when they are released from jail, the lack of social support, and the label of a felon that basically prevents them from having access to a lot of support systems that normal citizens have, regardless of what they were charged with, even if it may be a nonviolent crime.
Yeah, and I think that this issue with convicts and the experience that you're describing is a really big public issue. But more specifically, what I'd like you to think about in this question is an issue that you've been personally impacted by. So like, for example, if you yourself have been incarcerated, or if someone that you know may have been incarcerated, if you've ever experienced homelessness, hunger, what social issue or what thing is important to you? What have you been personally impacted by? Take as much time as you need. Yeah?
I think something that I kind of was impacted by at a young age, and like seeing a lot with my peers, is access to a equal and fair education amongst my peers. Because I saw the difference between 2 different schools. They were profound at a young age, and kind of understood, okay, it's not always fair, and things should be fair in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
So education, to put it simply.
Access to education. Would anyone else like to share? Thank you both for your vulnerability. And I'm going to move on to the next point. Part 2, what is the most important thing in the world? If you have the power to solve just one global problem, what could it be? This could be world hunger, any kind of issue. You have the power. You are Thanos.
Do we have to choose just one? I'm going to say like climate change.
Climate change, that's a really good one. Yes.
Poverty.
Poverty.
Racism.
Racism. We have climate change, poverty, and racism. Any others? All right. That's it. You've learned how to apply the sociological imagination. I'm proud of you, and that concludes, I'm just kidding, that's not the end of the presentation. That's not the end, but that is just the beginning. We're already starting to kind of see the factors or our relationship as individuals and our relationship to a public issue. We're seeing a little bit of both. And I think what the sociological perspective's aim is to do is to zoom in while zooming out. So we think about the issues that affect us on the individual level, whether it's us personally or our peers or someone that we may know. And then we look at the bigger picture. how is this affecting society at large? Am I the only one who's experiencing a lack of access to education, or are we seeing a pattern? Some of the questions that we ask when using the sociological perspective is, what is the problem? Why do we agree as society that it is a problem? How did it happen, and what is the source of that issue? Who is the problem affecting the most, as Nate was bringing out? And how is it affecting our society at large, positively, negatively, or something else? The sociological imagination is C. Wright Mill's term for the ability to see the relationship between individual experiences and larger society. We should be doing so in a way that is global. Global interdependence is a relationship in which the lives of all people are closely intertwined, and any one nation's problems are part of a larger global problem. For example, think of a house and a neighborhood. You might only be paying attention to your own house and trying to bring up its value. You might redo the windows, you might paint the outside, knock out some walls in your house, create a new bedroom or bathroom, whatever the case may be, to bring up the value of your own home. However, if one or more homes in the neighborhood are not doing the same thing, it can bring down the value of your home based off of proximity. So even though we might not think that other people and other problems or social issues don't affect us, they do. Again, going back into personal and public issues, a personal trouble affects the individual and their personal interactions between those that they associate with. That can mean that if homelessness is impacting you, then it's going to impact your interactions with other people. But that's not necessarily alone on its own a public issue. But when homelessness is affecting large numbers of people and requires collective action to address, that's when it becomes a more public issue. Homelessness is oftentimes kind of looked at as a national issue because we see rates of homelessness in the US quite frequently, but it's actually a global issue. Around 150 million people are homeless worldwide, with as many as 1.6 billion lacking adequate housing. Final takeaways: awareness, connection, and empathy. We should know that awareness is the knowledge of or perception of an issue or situation. For example, we know that homelessness is an issue because of who it's reaching and who it's impacting. We identify why something is an issue we identify why something is an issue, and we can't move forward on something if we don't first recognize the problem, so addressing the roots. The connection, which is the relationship between a person, place, thing, or idea, helps us to connect or create a link between the greater issue and our relationship with it. We use our sociological imagination to find those links and connect them between the bigger issue, or we do it in reverse. We find something that's important to us as individuals and connect it. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of one another, recognizing that even if we are not the individuals being directly impacted by racism, that it still affects us indirectly in shaping how our society interacts with one another. What affects one of us affects us all. And the reference that I used is Kindle's Sociology in Our Times, the 12th edition. That's all. Thank you.
Cheyenne, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, and this is like for my curiosity. So how does, what is it called again?
Class point.
So what would have allowed us to like give you answers to those questions, and what does it do? Does it create like a word cloud, or?
Sorry, let me go back to it because I closed it out so fast. So what I like about this imagination activity is if you access it on your laptop or your phone, once you submit the answers,
Mhm.
so like Nate said racism, you said poverty, you said global climate change,
Mhm.
everyone will be able to submit their answers. They're anonymous.
Mhm.
Same for the other one, about like personal issues or what you've been personally impacted by.
Gotcha.
They would be collected, and then I could share it, like I could create a slide for it simultaneously,
Oh,
and
gotcha.
then present it on the slide so that everyone could see what everyone's answers
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
That would have been really cool.
were. Sorry.
Yeah, no. This isn't on you. No, this is the place to figure those things out, so that when you are in a classroom, you anticipate those things. So that is not something that counts against you. Like, this is your practice. And I really like how you, and we can have our discussion now too. I like how you had, and I think maybe you skipped over some discussion opportunities because you were concerned about time, which is totally fine. But I really like that you included those discussion opportunities. Like, we could see when they were supposed to happen, right? And I really like that because I think and everybody, did that to some extent. I like the idea of like putting those in multiple places, because even if you think, oh, like everybody gets this, repetition is really important, and likely people are not always getting it, and so those examples and opportunities to talk it through, I think, are really helpful. So those are really good. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Cheyenne, you're welcome to sit down if you like.
Yes.
Can you stop, please?
My storage. R.I.P. my storage.